right, here we go. Final series, final game. This will be the last action in the Swiss portion. This elimination game, do or die for either of these teams. Making it through the knockouts. BLG leads us off. Callista, Draven, and Poppy bands. Zaya, Nico, and Jax are in response. I'm surprised that G2 went ahead with the Nico ban themselves. If I'm them, last game BLG looked tilted AF based on what was happening with Nico, and 100% should have left it on the table for themselves to do. Anyways, apparently they wanted to get rid of it. I think that's a huge mistake. They also get rid of Jax, which is Bin's favorite, so that makes a lot of sense. Going into the draft, we see Orianna matched by Azir Maokai. Then giving back Jarvan Renekton, they get Kai'Sa. Support pools are pinched, as well as Aphelios, and we end up with Ashe Braum on BLG, which is a fantastic lane. A lot of kill threat, especially level 1 and 2 from this combo. And we have Kai'Sa Bard, and Bard is another kind of surprising one. Kai'Sa needs a lot of help setting up the lane, trying to get Plasma in lane. As far as roaming and trying to get other people ahead, you can't really leave Kai'Sa alone versus anybody here. She will die solo to literally everybody on this team. She can go for a 1v1 if she's able to upfront it and get an upfront Q against Ashe. And get to the far side, maybe even dodge an ult with her own ult, and then try to get another isolated Q. But that's the only way that they can do this. So Bard feels a little bit odd. They gave up. The fact that they didn't put Nico into the bans and force the enemy team to deal with it means that I think that they gave up a Poppy Azir synergy for themselves as well. So anyways, we'll see what they do in the game. All right, and we're off. Cloud map. Not a cloud map. Cloud first dragon, so it will not be a cloud map. Azir is going for Hail of Blade. This has been a popular choice for bullying Orianna out of lane. In fact, it's been the only one. We saw Conqueror from Faker at one point that failed to get the push against Orianna. But Hail of Blades using Cheap Shot and Scorch is the synergy that you're looking for. That you just completely bully with this sequence. You get 1 Q off into their face, and then boom, 3 autos. You get the Scorch procs. You get so much chunk damage. So we'll be looking for Caps to try to get the push off. Now, what do we get in response? Gnar also has a counter pick against Renekton, so Gnar should be able to push that. That means that Maokai could have an attempt to go into the Western Quadrant. Problem is that he's losing the 1v1 versus Jarvan. So they don't really get that much for this. Hold on, Braum gets to step forward. This is a big problem. Braum has one of the most devastating level 1s in the entire game. There they go, first blood on Azir. Tell me it's not going to be GG after just 1 level. Mickey's about to die as well. That's 2-0 to start. They get 1 back for themselves. They get Yagao back. Maybe they get Elk as well. Okay, they get 2 for 2. Oh my goodness. Completely even to start off. Renekton, however, gets to push this lane, do whatever he wants. What's most likely, with Gnar being present for this, means he should pull the wave. Yeah, he did it. You see how he walked back? He walked back into the bush, so he pulled the wave. That'll cause one of the minions to die, and he can create an XP advantage for himself, and he can get the wave to sit on his own happy spot if that's what he chooses. Right here, the second wave will come on this side of the map. Since he pulled the wave, it draws the minions over towards that bush. Hold on, we'll see this whole play up again. Ashe Braum just super strong. We'll see if Elk actually went for the Q. No, she went for W. This I think is a mistake. This is the thing that people are sleeping on. Level 1 Q is so good. It's incredibly strong. All right, so Yagao went forward, stepped forward right here. They take all of their damage and decide to put it onto Yagao. Yike goes onto Elk. Makes a lot of sense. Good split here. They should be able to get the 2 kills without expending anything else, but a couple flashes down. You see what Renekton does right here. He's in the bush, pulling it out. Now that wave will come back to him. All right, Bard and Kai'Sa going for the push here against the Ashe Braum. Braum having gotten the kill, hasn't gotten a chance to back here. Oh, hold on. This was level 3. He didn't take advantage of the window that he had. Dodging the Q means he's able to survive that trade. Good thing. Jarvan realizing that there's actually a monster still here. Maokai's going to go and poke him. They're going to have a little dogged scruffle right there. That works. This path, by the way, works for Maokai. Normally these 3 camps aren't going to get... Hold on. They're going everywhere. Broken Blade's even showing up for this. Jarvan gets the buff for himself. He's going to start healing. Oh my goodness, if they don't get this kill consolidated right now, they're in so much trouble. Flash Q from Mickey. They get that kill. Are they going to wrap here onto Bin? Job by Guy to be here. He couldn't quite get over there. Perhaps leaving it up for his teammate. Bin also breaks that down. My goodness. What an explosive start to this game. Can't help but feeling that it's kind of random. That's the way G2 likes it. They like to keep things off meta. They like to keep things off script. They like to adapt. They feel like they're the more versatile team. Wave crashing back on the bot side means that Ash and Braum get to go in. They also get to press Kai'Sa out because of that disadvantage. Power W doesn't actually land. How did he land that onto both champions? That's pretty bizarre. So Bard gets a good roam off. Kind of. Ends up dying anyways. But they did kill the Jarvan. But Kai'Sa was left alone, which means that Ash was able to push in. They got a lot of damage here. It also gets Braum the recall that he's looking for if he opts to use it. He's actually full health, so he's going over straight to mid lane. Might look to make a little bit of a play right here. Azir is hovering the right side. Jarvan's got the left, so will they try for a sandwich play? Bard is here for the answer. Maokai's also on Raptors, so this is a good situation for them. I think what BLG is just going to do is use Braum to help push the wave, right? You present a little bit of threat. You help crash the wave. It allows Orianna to get a better, cleaner recall off, so that you don't even need to use teleport, right? If you can get someone to help you push a wave, you often don't need to do it. Let's look at Gnar trying to survive. Oh, I don't think he wanted to land on top of anything there. That made his landing spot predictable. It made it very easy for Jarvan to shut the door on him. Renekton is off to a huge lead here. This is going to be a big problem. This is supposed to be a counter matchup, and instead you're down 25 CS and 2 kills. Keep flying across the map. Good job, good dodge right here. If that W had hit, that would have been a passive for lethal. It is still lethal. Good job by them. Hansama moving around the minion wave, getting every single last hit in. A little bit of a mistake by Elk, not taking the straightest line back. This happens anytime you move screens. Sometimes you just got to realize what's the fastest avenue to get as much distance as possible. What do they look to get for it? Probably just going for the plate. One thing that they need to look out for Braum. Braum can stick up his shield. If you try to stand right in his face, he'll put the shield up. You'll end up hitting the shield, not the turret. That will cause you to take the turret aggro. Okay, so we see the sap passive right there. Survives. Doesn't get the red. If he had won that red buff, this would have been tremendously different, right? That much less attention needed by Mickey. It means that Yike would have had healing moving up. No one gets the heal. Renekton steals it. My good. And Renekton's feeling super strong. He still has a red buff in tow. Jarvan's going to take the aggro, you see, for an auto attack first. And then you actually did him a favor, right? By jumping over and landing on something, you make it so that Jarvan can EQ his way to safety. So absolutely something he would want back for himself there. Good dodges by Elk. 5th hit gets the plasma. Both get those extra autos off. Mickey tanking the turret. Well done. They get that push in as well. So Kai'Sa's going to be a little bit stronger going into the rest of this game. Kai'Sa builds have been a topic of a lot of discussion. We've seen 3 different builds come out. Looks like we're going to get a Stormrazor, Rageblade, probably Nashor's Tooth continuation here. We'll see what that ends up amounting to. Hold on, we get the slow off the cuff. Continued harass. Ashe feels good moving back. You see how she moves herself towards her teammates, towards the threat of Jarvan and Braum, helping with that fight. Dragon actually releashes. They said that they fixed this, and yet this still happens. You saw that the leash, the patience bar was not even close to 0, and it's still released. So that'll be a little bit frustrating for BLG, but they do have 4 people over. Notice how they rotated Renekton over to mid lane, so they don't need to cede any resources. This is a combination play. Anytime you can do this, where you can push out your top lane, especially if you can go and proxy, you proxy, and then instead of taking camps, you come over and cover for mid lane. And as you cover for mid lane, coming down in this angle, mid lane can come and help out with the objective. You don't lose anything in the top lane because you're 30 seconds ahead of the wave. It allows you to pick up an extra wave as a top laner, and it allows mid laner to go over without feeling like they've given up turret damage or given up anything in the mid. It's a nice little macro movement there. Gnar does get the push in. Renekton will collect this wave and start shoving it back. sure very soon he's going to be looking to turn his gold lead into that first full item. We should see Gore Drinker. Normally we would see a fast plated steel caps, but because of the early nature of the lead, the kills from Renekton, he might just go boots into the Gore Drinker and say, hey, I can just constantly threaten you with double dash. If I ever get on top of you, if I ever stun you, you're dead meat. So he's going to want to go for that. All right, rotations are coming over. Now Kai'Sa's coming over this way. You see how Orianna's in the bot lane? This is how you want to prepare for these plays, right? You have someone with teleport in this lane. She comes back with the teleport. Now they can have numbers if they choose to contest. Now, ultimately, we'd want this to wait as long as possible. Hold on. The immediate Gnarl in the face of the engage allows them to get that. However, no one got the eye, so they're not going to get this for themselves. Bleeding. Everybody's super low. Mickey ends up going all the way out. Yike bites it. Gnar's trying to get some amount of damage, but this you have to be careful. That is a enraged Renekton with far superior items to you. You know what? I won't even say far superior because he got his shop off. In fact, you know that can be claimed as an L, right? That's a minus for Renekton. The fact that you actually got into a fight with fairly even numbers here, 2,200 gold spent versus 1,900. So actually not particularly close. We see Stridebreaker there finished by Renekton. So he very desperately wanted to get this back. That's why G2 was feeling strong here, even being a little bit down. Perfectly timed Gnar ultimate. The rage bar fitting in, but you see the rest of that HP bars there. Boom, multiple people hit with the shockwave. Tries to get the stun off. It's not quite enough. As always with Bard, anytime anyone's passing through behind you, you'll always be able to stun them. Cap's doing a nice job using his mechanics there, shuffling. Use the E, wait till you're almost at your soldier, right? And right here is where you cast the Q. You get a new direction. You get to continue following. Most people know how to do the Azir shuffle at this point, but in case you don't. Now let's see, Ashe, 3 points. This is where you're feeling really good. Once you start getting level 5, level 6, you have 3 points in your W. It means that you've got plenty of harass. You've got the all-in threat with the Q steroid. Hold on, we got a big engage, shockwave. Nice job, classic combination. Jarvan Orianna to punish Caps. He has no ult, no flash. You better believe that they had this on tap. They knew what this cooldown was. So they go for that aggression because if you don't, you have the potential for Azir to throw you under the turret in response. And because Jarvan doesn't have their ultimate, they actually would have been pretty screwed under that turret. All right, we see Renekton taking over this lead. All right, Stridebreaker. Stridebreaker is being used into range matchups because Gore Drinker is not reliable enough. You need the extra movement speed to create your threat into these fights, and that makes a lot of sense. We're talking about 4 ranged champions as we go, right? Bard, Kai'Sa, Azir, and Gnar, all of which you might need that little bit of help getting onto. So those are the cases where Stridebreaker is best. Tends to be all or nothing, feast or famine. It's not like a sustained fight that you're taking on. Hold on, they're actually willing to aggress into his rage bar. This is kind of crazy. He's about to Gnar out. He's desperately trying. It looks like they go for that chunk just to force it out, and they'll come back for it later once the mini settles back in. G2's going for an opposite side play. They're freezing one person on. Tried to flash into the stasis, but doesn't get it. Now the whole team needs to get out. Bard is trying to shuffle them along. They do get separated slightly. We'll see whether or not this becomes a problem. It probably will not. Big benefactor of that play is going to be Gnar right here. He should stay, right? If the call is that the teleport's in play, I don't care if you have a completed Trinity Force right now. Like, those are standing plates that this might be your only and last chance to get any of this amount of money. Zier's getting the push. Orianna was rotating top. What did he even go back for? He went back for this? Was it Kindle Gem and Control Ward and that's it? Are we joking? All right, well, he doesn't get anything for himself, but they are going to use that momentum to come set up the dragon. Maokai always going to be very strong here. Azir, however, is picking up the wave, and he's going second, which means Orianna will be here, and Azir will not. If you're going for the dragon here, you absolutely want to have Azir pushing out the wave and then moving into the bottom side river. That's not what they're doing, so now they're completely wasting the fact that Gnar came down here. Bizarre, guys. This is very, very bizarre. We wanted to make concise and consolidated motions. Instead, we're not getting that. So we end up Gnar, who's not really strong enough to go fight. Normally, you'd want your top laner who had a counter matchup to say, okay, yeah, I can come down here. I'm super strong. I've got a completed item. I can go ahead and bully this bot lane. But in reality, he can't even really do that. And then Azir gets left alone in the lane with Renekton. He's going to have to use his ultimate just to peel him away. And look at this, like Gnar's even seeding on the far side. Flash used by Elk to reposition. Braum's going to take this. I can use the stuns as well. Chain CC, beautifully done to lock him in place. Am I trapped in here with you, or are you trapped in here with me? And that's the end of the plates. One extra plate going to BLG. They've got still a big level lead on Renekton. He's about to take 11 as well. Once he gets to 11, he's going to be so far ahead of this Gnar that it will not even be a contest. Gnar has no teleport, no Triforce, nothing to claim to his name. Hold on, we see an engage here. Mickey using it on himself, trying to leave Hans Sama, but Braum can shield some of that damage. They try to trade it back. Braum, why did you go out and not finish that kill? Hold on, that's the edge of the range right there. Jarvan's trying desperately to get onto Caps. He doesn't need to, right? Just by fighting Yike, he's going to be comfortable very here. Uses his flash eventually. You see how that was an R flash. Not that it needed to be. Azir was out of tools at that point. But R flash to make sure that the moment you arrive, cast that spell. You buffer the effect. Orianna's actually coming straight back down here. So Kai'Sa will need to rotate back over to mid. This will probably be the last opportunity for Kai'Sa to go side lane. Needs to try to get middle. The problem is she's down to this Ashe. Not by much, though. Here we go. Here's the first play. Nicely done. Doesn't actually get that first turret aggro drawn, and it wouldn't have mattered, right? Because look how healthy Elk is. The fact that he was able to dodge that, throw on the first end of that, doesn't get any more ability off. Bard finds an angle. All right. You see an immediate cleanse. They tried to go for the damage up here. So what was Braum thinking? Is it because he put up the E in the wrong direction that he said, I'm just not going to do this? I don't know. Maybe, I mean, I'm sure they know that Ashe is going to die, but the question is, couldn't they have gotten someone back with them? Been overstepping there, trying to get out of the turret range. Was actually stronger for longer. Could have stayed around for that extra auto attack. Because he doesn't, they use the flash and the ultimate from J4. But they're going to say, well, worth it. Now, 2,400 gold in the lead. Dragons coming up in 2 minutes. They're going to feel very strong here. And on top of that, they've got the Renekton, Jarvan, Ashe team. They're going to feel very, very good fighting in and around these pits. Whereas Azir and Gnar might feel fairly uncomfortable here. Orianna using the ult to clear the wave and to start this fight off. Trying to get as many resources gone. They're trying to get Yagao dead. They don't quite get him. Ashe arrow hits from downtown, which means they get this, and this is turning disastrous for G2. They tried to have a moment of strength here. They all group up. One person gets rooted. They don't have a great follow-up. They don't have, like, a Yone, for example, or a Renata. The champions that are absolutely best with Maokai are the champions that have a line effect, right? Something, a line ultimate, something that scoops people up. Azir is pretty good at it. But basically, you want to have something that punishes them if they do choose to bundle up. This will come out in 5 lines, all right? These 5 lines come out. If you're trying to react against it, best thing to do is to split up into 3 and have carries on the extremities behind frontliners, right? And try to have some sequence like that, that if you do have a wombo that you're trying to set up with Maokai, that's going to be your best sort of formation. Keep those guys nice and wide. I love this Orianna ult. Not only is it a big chunk of damage onto Caps, but also wiping out the casters, making sure that the turret would be more of a threat sooner. Good continuation here as well. Now, this is a bad angle. That Maokai ult, you almost never want to throw your ult right at the guy in front of your face, because that just means that that guy blocks it, and anyone who's behind him, nothing else happens. That ult wants to be thrown in this direction. You'll still hit it, plus you'll hit all the people that are trying to flank you from those 2 positions. It doesn't appear that it would have changed much there, but, you know, something to keep note of, especially when you have something like Demonic Embrace. You want to make sure that you're hitting the most targets possible. All right, Ashe in a sieging position with a lead is going to feel very, very good. Bard uses this to stop the charge. It's not going to be enough, though. You see how they use this. They threaten. They say, well, all right, we know that you've got Bard. That's okay. We're going to go and aggress upon you. You can't stun all of us. 3 people going through is the magic number. Is the magic number against Bard. 3 he cannot do anything about. He can only stop 2. So if you are 3, you don't even need to juke. You just keep on moving forward. And in fact, you just kind of want to soak it up for whoever's got the longest Gap close, Bard bites it, the ult is gone. That means Rift Herald, instead of charging the first one, preserves his HP, uses it to take both of these down. Beautiful play by BLG, adapting to a Bard being in the game. And they're in a perfect position now to wrap onto Dragon. Now, this is probably the last chance G2 has to fight them because they haven't shopped yet. All right, Azir had better be looking to move over to this fight. They need to try to make it. It looks like the call is off. They're not trying to make this. It feels like they have a foot out the door. G2 is a little bit tilted because this was their last chance to get a fight under terms that they wanted, right? There's just nothing going to come good after this. That is 3 structures, right? Drew 4. 3 structures down in the mid lane, plus the kill, plus all the presence on the map, plus the dragon. They're going to put this in their inventories now. And that's going to be a very, very, very big deal for trying to answer these fights. Ashe selling the refillable for the Ruby. This is the stage in the game where you always sell the refillable. You're out of space, and Ruby Crystal just kind of gives you the same amount of health anyways. So you might as well just take that for yourself. No big deal that Braum missed that slightly on the peel. Would like to keep those melees out of turret range, obviously. All right, check this out. Lane ward as you prepare here. Now, what G2 has done is they've created a clutter of vision, including Maokai saplings, across this entire vicinity. So they're clearly trying to set up some sort of trap. The problem is that they don't have enough threat, right? We're talking about 1.5 items here, 1.5 items here, 1 here, 1.5 here. Like, they just don't have the item profile to actually make this a punishing play. You're looking at an Orianna who's bigger. Jarvan is bigger. Renekton's on 2 items. Ashe is bigger, right? Literally everyone on their team is bigger. So even if you set a trap, BLG will just spring it. They'll just say, okay, yeah, let's go for it. I've got levels on you. Basically across the board, right? The only person who has more levels is Kai'Sa, right? And we're talking actually about a aggregate 3 level advantage here from BLG. So their minions are also going to be pushing. For those of you who don't know, when there is a level discrepancy, up until the first full level, your minions are 5% stronger, all right? And then for every level that you are stronger than the enemy team, this goes up, right? So as soon as you go to 6 or +1, it goes to 5%, 10%. Your minions will always be pushing. That means that they'll always have the push in these lanes. It means that someone from G2 has always got to go be picking them up. It does become a source of extra income if you are able to play defense perfectly, all right? So it's sort of like having an inhibitor dead. It means that the wave will push into you. If G2 can collect all those waves while stalling for the Baron, then they'll be okay, right? And they're willing to do that for the next 8 minutes, right? The dragon spawn and then fight for Elder is basically how long they're willing to do that. The Soul is not a particularly relevant buff for this game in particular. With Chem Tank, it's just not really a big part of what they're doing. A part of a little bit of the lockdown abilities, the tenacity, being low health and being better in fights, but mostly they're trying to get a pick, isolate, use Kai'Sa to her advantage, reposition the fight, use stasis again once it's down to 4 people, split it up into 2 and 2. They're trying to like take this fight in bites, right? You want to bite off one, then you want to take a 2v5, and then you want to clean up the other 2 people, hopefully leaving Renekton for last, right? Like, that's your strategy if you're G2. Try to get a pick here or here, then you try to get an ult on a Bard ult here as you fight the other people. Okay, and that's how you're going to be able to continue into these fights. We'll see whether or not they're able to create that for themselves. Obviously, it's going to be a very, very difficult process. That being said, knowing that this is the route, I actually think this is a game where we should see Even Shroud instead of Radiant Virtue. Comes online faster, is more impactful, and it plays towards that script of we are aiming for picks much, much, much more effectively. Radiant Virtue is for the 5v5 where I want to have the little advantage of my team gaining healing the entire fight. That's not nearly as effective when your team's behind and you definitely lose the 5v5 as they do right now, right? Not to mention just the normal script of the game, the fact that they're down 5.5k, but also these champions are just stronger at this stage. All right, first point of strength. Azir has been dutifully pushing side lanes, has got himself up to 212 CS, and has gotten himself 2 items. Kai'Sa has been doing the same, up to 2. She has 250 CS. So she might be looking at something like stopwatch, whether or not we go into Zonia's next. What are we going to get? Phantom Dancer? She's deciding. She can't decide what she's going to build. Now, normally the rule of thumb is when you get 3 diving champions, that's when you can play Runon's Hurricane. You want to make sure that you're getting the full value from the split. Otherwise, just the Phantom Dancer or something for the self-peel is going to be enough. It looks like Kai'Sa's not trying to put any points into the W. That can be punished, right? Especially since we're going for pick and we might have these protracted sieges and you have to kind of wait for your moment and you're definitely not trying to fight. A much better sequence there is to have your W evolved. We've seen LS's study on Kai'Sa damage after 20 minutes, and it is insane how much higher her damage is from W than it is from auto attacks, right? And that is regardless of build. Just the number of attacks hit versus the number of W's hit is significantly advantage to the W, which is why you see so many Nashor's Tooth, why you used to see Ludens. We don't see Ludens anymore because there's no more static shiv. They don't care for the AP scaling, but still it is worth considering how much damage this W deals over time. Now, it looks like we have the minimum amount of points here from the Kai'Sa, and I think this is a miss, right? You do like the extra attack speed on the E, but the W becomes such a huge portion. All you need is the 1 point for 1 invisibility in the fight. So much of her profile comes in here. Hold on, we go forward. Jarvan's found the engage. He EQs forward. Azir scoops him into the team. They're trying to get that first pick, right? Everything's based on getting that first pick first. Ben does use his flash forward. They're saying, we want to commit to this fight. Ashe, super dangerous. How can you ever run away from an Ashe? She's got permanent CC, slowing everybody down. And basically, they never presented a threat, right? Completed 2 items across the board. This is where they felt strong. Look at this. They waited until they had this spike and this spike. Look how much further ahead BLG is, and they put it all into the inventory. They say, that's okay. You guys can like scrap to barely get your second items off. We will also be up stopwatches, meaning we can chase these fights. Ashe can feel super strong, and you're never really going to get anything back. Hansama is the one chance with a 2-point W. It was close. Okay. I mean, at least the frame was there. The timing was right. I'm not going to say that you're ever going to out hit a Jarvan smite. So you saw that Bard ult being used. The idea is that you're trying to isolate a small group of people. But again, like we said, that Bard ult needs to be on Renekton, right? That is by far the biggest threat on their team, level 14 and diving forward. Ashe is someone that you're trying to burst, right? You want Renekton out of the fight for a small moment so you can make other things happen. Instead, they get nothing. Bard ultimate is wasted, means that BLG knows that they can go full ham forward. And now the lead's just going to grow. 7k, they've got the Baron in tow. They don't they do go for the shops, right? We saw half items, couple components just being built, medium components as it were. They're going to work their way in, play it stock and standard, 4 people mid, Renekton bottom. Sometimes you see a fighter in mid lane when there's only an inhibitor to go, but they say we really want to break this down now. Then they might swap and put Renekton in this lane, move the 4 over here. You see how they have wards lining the pathways across. Now here is a potential, right? The fact that they moved across, this was a window to maybe go after them. I would have liked to see Bard just ult the Renekton right there and have his team engage on the 4 and see whether or not they could make that happen for themselves. Instead they don't, so now it's going to be, I won't say a slow bleed out because the lead is so massive, but it's going to be a pretty quick bleed out. You've lost your mid inhibitor. Once this super comes in, you're going to send Renekton or Jarvan over to this lane. You want your flanking fighter to be the person who can jump in this position. Renekton seems like the natural choice. He's got the extra tankiness, the speed, he's got the boots, he's even got stopwatch on top of the resistances. So he's just feeling really, really good. Ends up being so comfortable that he's just coming straight front to back in this situation. And they move up. Now, remember we talked about those minions, how they would be stronger based on the level advantage. You've pushed in both of these. Do not recall right here. Go over and immediately start pushing on this top lane. It's waiting for you. It's been stacking. We've got double cannons, means that this turret is just going to melt. Now, interesting question. Who's going to be the flanker? Last time we saw it with Jarvan, but we see Renekton moving over to be a front to back position. Who's actually going to take this? It looks like both of them opted for it for a moment, but now it is Renekton who's going to go. He's going to escort this super wave in, force it all the way in, make it so that it's much harder for Gnar to actually clear this wave, and now he's threatening to T-bone them right here with any kind of progression. Gnar has to sit on the waves. This has to be the all-in. BLG could actually int and all die, and they'll still be winning in this position, but I doubt they're even going to do that. They've got the stopwatches in tow. Soon jumping forward, you get full engages. Everyone's doing maximum damage. They have no threat of dying because they've got stopwatches to reset all the aggro. They may even just ace this fight. Looks like they will. Finally, we see the last flashes going forward. Elk says, nah, it's okay. We don't need to kill you under turret. It's just a bard. No, they do. They want to. No, come on, guys. Just end it. Put them out of their misery. No complaints from BLG. Solid game. Looked clean. End game was precise. Bin has been playing out of his mind. Obviously, level 1 is something that you want to have back at G2. And it just goes to show, like, when you play passively and you try to make the game about fanning out and let's see what they do and let's just play standard. Standard is a losing opportunity, is a losing play. You're just waiting for them to choose which play to make on you. They make the play, they invade into your jungle, they get 2 kills. The lanes are impossible. Renekton ends up crushing his own counterpick, and the rest was history. I want to take a moment to say thank you. All right, you guys are being awesome as supporters of the channel. We have almost 1,000 new subscribers. So when we hit that mark, we're going to be doing a giveaway at the Academy. 10 hours. You can use it however you want, whether or not you want macro, micro, performance psychology, or whether or not you want to give it away to friends. You can work with your Clash team, whatever you want. We're here for you. All you need to do is like, subscribe, and comment on one of the videos at Worlds, and anyone who's done that over the course of this entire tournament will be entered for the sweepstakes. So again, thank you so much. Let's get on the game.